All comments on this stream belong to the individual. I'm looking, sorry, but I have it on that screen out here. Let me move it in front of me so I don't look weird.
No, they can't see you, so it doesn't matter. You can look however you want.
That is true. You're right. All comments on this stream belong to the individual commenter and do not represent the Legion Myth organization, especially my comments. Heathen Dog disavows everything I say, and he should. Hyperbole, satire, stereotypes, and generalizations are often used for simplicity and/or effect. My goal is to get your blood boiling, or for you to scream at your, yeah, I agree with them. Yeah, that second one's pretty good. He and him are neutered pronouns. For the love of God, take a fucking English class if you don't believe that.
No need to swear on that. Come on.
Yes, I do.
Calm down.
And is not meant to exclude any gender. I don't care what you identify as. I'm still going to use he and him. I still want you to play role-playing games. I'm not going to gatekeep you. Not over stupidity like that anyway. And this comment, hey, YouTube, this comment is not meant for children under the age of 13. Stuff like that. Now, let me get this up on the screen. So I have two things I have to do here. So let's see how this is going to look. Might look weird. I was a little nervous about that. So share this screen. You haven't heard me talk about Earthdawn recently. Boom. Oh, that's not it. That's my script that I'm going to be going over. So that's the wrong thing. I freely admit I script my stuff. I also go off script a lot too. 4th edition player's guide. We're going to share that one first because I'll go into the D&D. Oh crap. Yeah, that isn't going to work that way. Scheiße. Oh, maybe I won't be scripting.
You can zoom in. You can zoom in.
No. I'm going to. It's just because that's a vertical monitor.
Oh.
So yeah. Because there are going to be some pages here I want to show. So what happened was, so let's do a little background on Earthdawn for just a moment. It's not Legion Rocks, it's I Want Stuff, but there's no giveaway because nobody's given us bits yet.
Yep.
So third, the dislike playing a spreadsheet than a character. Oh, I agree with you on that one. Yes, I 100% agree with you on that one.
Well, they'll throw up on screen, man. Boom. There it is.
I'm not there. I was at the banners page. Okay. Quick little bit of background about Earthdawn and me. I've been playing Earthdawn since it was a pamphlet, not even a 1st edition rulebook. I wasn't really official playtest. It was hey, this is a new game coming out. Here's a 10-page pamphlet. Go check it out.
What was that, like 93?
93, I think it was. Yeah, I was at War Games West in Albuquerque. So I loved it almost immediately. Then it became a game, and I ran 1st edition Earthdawn everywhere I lived, except for in the state of Minnesota, because everybody fucking hates Minnesota, and you should hate Minnesota. Aren't you from there? I try not to admit that anymore.
Yeah.
Hey dear, yeah, I'm from Minnesota. So anyway, and people fell in love with it. I wouldn't say it's because I'm a great game master. I say I'm a good game master, but this is a great game. At least 4th edition is still a great game. I got to take the personal out of it. I made a video series on each of the disciplines of Earthdawn. If you don't know what disciplines are, let's think of them like character classes, but better. So I made some videos on that, and I still get comments on those videos, even though they're old and poor quality because I was using a crappy webcam and so on and so forth. They're still good videos, and I hope you watch them.
Actually, wait. I have a better way to describe disciplines. Unlike the priest class, disciplines are more real life, where the priesthood is a calling. Mm-hmm. Disciplines are a calling, kind of like that. You build your life around that framework.
That is the best way to say it right there. You don't just swing a sword.
No.
A sword master isn't somebody who swings a sword and is really good at it. You can do that in the game.
That's great. But if you build your life around the methodology and mental wherewithal, the theme of swinging a sword, that means you're a sword master.
Then it becomes empowered with magic, and you can do things that somebody who's simply been training for 25 years can't do because you have empowered your abilities with magic. Mar Hawkman says like how Goku does martial arts in DBZ. I don't know. I don't watch it.
I don't think that's a good enough comparison.
Just what I'll say. Go to our YouTube channel, Legion of Myth. And
they're all there.
Yep, I have every discipline in the game there. Well, every core discipline in the game there. I stopped doing this because I struggled getting through the videos, and this is personal. The line developer of the game puts too much of his personal politics into the game.
Now, I mean, in the beginning, 4th edition, he didn't.
Oh, in fact, this book right here, this 4th edition player's guide, is a beautiful book. It's written well. Yes, this is how a book should be done. But when the companion came out, and we'll just say the language changed to something that was virtue signally, I can't get with that. I just can't. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care what you believe. I don't want it in my technical manual, which is what a game book is. So
it should give information about the game, not information about you personally.
Right, and what your beliefs are and whose feelings you're trying to, cater to. So I have moved away from Earthdawn. It hurts me because I love this game. I absolutely do. Heathen Dog, you know how much I've been involved with Earthdawn. I was an official playtester for second edition. Sorry about that. I kept first edition going. I was a Kickstarter backer for this one, but I love the game. I made videos about every discipline, for Christ's sake. But you know what? Write your book like Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers, and I'll come back. Until then, I can't. But anyway, I still get comments on those YouTube videos. And I got a comment this last week that said, hey, how do you implement thread items to new players? Both mechanically and in a role play level. And damn it, I cannot believe I did not get this. I didn't write this person's name down.
Oh, you're awful.
I am awful. That was horrible. I didn't write this person's name down. So if you go through the videos and find the YouTube commenter who asked me to do this, thank him. And yes, that is a bad on my part. That person deserves thanks for this. And I even posted in there like, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to, instead of doing a video about it, I'm going to do this on the live stream. So hello, dog. So that's what happened here. I don't have my pages in front of me right now. So here's the book. Let me get my script up. Don't worry, you won't see it. So the point is we're going to talk about how to handle thread items, which are magic items. And I'm going to explain threads in the most generic terms in a moment in the Earthdawn role-playing game. So for those of you who have never played Earthdawn, I'm going to give you the simplest overview I can. There are 3 types of magic items. Common magic items, which like healing potions and blood charms and so forth. Pattern items, which are parts of a greater pattern. Kind of like a group, if your group makes a group pattern, probably like, what the hell is a pattern? A magic bond between each other.
There you go.
You can utilize certain talents and abilities through that. You could have an item. So you guys remember? Do you remember the module I had you guys run through called Blades, where you got the 6 daggers?
Yeah, I have that. Yeah.
Those are pattern items. Each one by itself isn't its own unique item, but when mixed with a group pattern, becomes something powerful. And then finally, there are thread items. And thread items have their own individual, unique, true pattern. They're their own unique magic item. So for simplicity's sake, I don't expect you to do this, but I personally liken a true pattern to something akin to like a magical DNA. I think I even described that to you guys when I was running the game. I don't know if you remember or not. But whenever I think of it in terms of like DNA, it just falls into place better for me, especially when I'm talking about the pattern of a person. But even in terms of when you look at an item, you're looking into it. You're not just seeing a glowy sword. You're getting into it and you're seeing the magical threads and how it's reaching into astral space, and you learn about the item. So in Earthdawn, when you pick up a +5 sword, it's not a +5 sword. It's just a piece of metal until you learn more about it. So what this person asked was like, hey, how do I incorporate this into my game? And I was like, it's not that difficult. Oh, you know what? I struggled with that for years. And I mean literally for years. Because, I wanted to do it this way, but the book is written up this way. The players thought it read this way, blah, blah, blah. So, you know what? Let's look at the salient points first. I want to do it by the book first. Okay. So, Heathen Dog, you don't have a copy of this book, do you?
No, I do not have. I have all of the first edition books.
That's fine. So let me put that over there. So the first see, of course, now I can't see the damn page numbers. Okay. So I want to go to page 230.
Okay. Magically go to page 230.
Boom, there I am. Pattern knowledge. So pattern knowledge. Do I want to read this whole thing?
No. Just go the idea of what a pattern is and how to get knowledge from it.
All thread items have a history integral to their power. And that is true. So what happens is when the player gets an item, let's say you're a troubadour. Yes, I'm skipping a lot of things here, but I'm kind of saying this for people who already have an understanding of Earthdawn, like the gentleman who asked the question. All threads have a history integral to their power. So when the troubadour, or I think wizards can do this as well, look at the item through or a windling with astral sensing, looks at the item, they can do what's called item history. It's actually a talent for troubadours. That's a troubadour's job. Troubadour doesn't just sing. A troubadour is also the bearer of history. So when that troubadour or whomever else has that talent, because now, things are homogenized in 4th edition, other people can get it as well, uses item history, that item history talent will say, depending on the role, how well you do, generically speaking, and the example I'm going to use for when I move forward here is going to be, you find it has 3 items. You know it has more, but you can find 3 key knowledges, pattern knowledges. Well, now you have to understand what they are. So if an item here has a magic ring may have 3 ranks. Each rank provides a unique power, say +1 to hit, +1 to armor class. Yes, I know it's not what it's called in this game. I'm saying that for you guys. And +1 to
saving throws.
To saving throw. Yeah, there you go. Those are the 3 different abilities it gives you, or it could give you. It could be anything, but that's what it gives you. Each one of them is tied to a key knowledge that the character must know to unlock that power. So when you look at key knowledges on the next page, let's say it might say, so they're talking about Kegel's sword here, or maybe Kegel's sword. The character must learn the name of the fire elemental that helped to forge Kegel's sword. So when you roll item history says this is what you need to learn. It does not give you that information.
Nope.
You now have to research it. Or there are ways you can find out more about it actually using item history and so forth.
Yeah, but, it'll give you a direction. You're not directionless now. Like, I got to find this information in a vacuum. No,
right.
It'll the item history roll will give you where the general region where Kegel grew up or lived, or where
there's a hint right here.
Hint
the
like
fire
that.
elemental that helped forge Kegel's sword. Well, where's the first place you might want to go to study a fire elemental?
Someplace where there's fire.
Deathsea.
There you go.
I mean, as an example, you don't have to go there.
Yeah.
I like the players to come up with the idea. I don't like being the game master saying, okay, you have to go here, you have to go here, you have to go here. No. If the players say something reasonable, like we are going to go into a mountain within, a volcano within the, what's one of the jungles, or not jungles, the mountain ranges, I forget. The Thunder something mountains?
Thunder Peak.
Yeah, there you go. It's been so long since I've done this. The Twilight Peaks.
Twilight Peaks. There you go. Yeah.
I'm going to say yes.
Because it works. I mean, the book doesn't most of the time does not hard line where Kegel grew up, where he did this, how he did this. It just says he did this, he used this. It doesn't say where, it doesn't say how. It leaves that up to you, or it leaves that up to the player to suggest. And you're like, oh, that's a good idea. And then, like you said, you just roll with it. It's fine.
So we're going to look at the item. This one I am going to read. We're going to next thing we're going to look at is what does item history actually give you. So this just determines how it's used right here. Again, if you don't play Earthdawn, we're doing Astonishing Swordsman, Sorcerer, Hyperborea, not Earthdawn. This is kind of for people who already understand Earthdawn. The adept learns the history of an enchanter mundane item. The adept studies the item for a week. So you have to look at it for a week, carefully examining it for at least an hour a day. So you can do this while you're adventuring. You just
other stuff. Sure. Yeah, it's not the only thing you have to do. Like, oh, I eat, sleep, and stare at this thing. No.
Right. No. Then makes an item history test against the item's mystic defense. If successful, which think of this as a saving throw, item saving throw. If successful, each success reveals 1 new key knowledge from the item's history. Now, in the old school way, you had a chart, and if you got a good success, there was another one. Excellent success was another. In this one, for every 5 you roll higher than your target number, is considered an extra success. So if you roll 15 points higher, you get 3 success. Or sorry, that would be 10 points higher. If you get 10 points higher, because you get the initial one for the success, another one for 5 points higher, another one for 10 points higher. So if your target number is 8 and you roll an 18, you get 3 knowledges, just as an example. Each success provides the adept with a different piece of information instead of a key knowledge. Get back to that. Item history can be used multiple times on the same item, but each test requires another week of study. So, for your first one, you only need 1.
Yeah, then you can hit the ground running at that point. You can get your first, you can get toward your first thread to the item. But if you want them, I want them all now. Screw it. I'm gonna keep researching. Well, you can, I guess. It just takes another week.
So now we're going to 232. Obtain the key knowledge. This is where I'm going to slow down a little bit. To learn the key knowledge, this character must first learn the test knowledge just by making item history tests. That's what we saw. And I'm actually going to do an example. What the hell just... Okay. That I have written out. That's a little different than what's in here. The character uses item history talent to discover the test knowledge for a particular key knowledge at a specific rank. Don't let these terms confuse you. Basically, this is what says you have to find the fire elemental for Kedgel's sword.
Or the name of. Yeah.
Or the name of, yes. Find the actual fire elemental. Have fun. So after that is done, now you have the research knowledge. This is where once you learn what you have to discover, the name, now you need to go do it. And this is where which is one of the ways I like that 4th edition wrote this up versus maybe previous editions, which is a little more ambiguous, is this is very clear. You find what you need to learn, and then you go learn it. This isn't like, well, I made my role. I should know what all this is. No. The character, now that the player or the group, I like to think of this in terms of group because one of the things about this game is multiple people can weave threads to an item. So now that the players know that they need to go find this fire elemental's name, now you actually make an adventure to go do it. You don't just say, oh yeah, the fire elemental's name, Kakatal. Anybody get that reference? You actually have to have, and even if, and let's be clear, even if the players know that that's the name, you have an elementalist in the group, it's like, oh, I know who did this. That was Kakatal did that. That means nothing. You have to understand the meaning behind that.
You know what? If it's a weapon, I would probably give a weaponsmith a half magic test to know that. If it's a non-weapon item, I would give a troubadour a half magic test to, oh wait, I know that story. Stuff like that. I would give him a shot. It'd be hard. I would make it difficult.
A die roll cannot do this.
But it is possible that being a troubadour, he has heard the story.
Sure, but just possible. Knowing the name, you have to understand the person. And I'm going to
go into he would know the story, and he would have to tell you the tale. Like that.
Right here. So, yeah. Finding the research knowledge answer to a test question should require some effort on part of those seeking the knowledge. For example, a character may have to travel some distance to find a tome that has the information he seeks. Arriving at his destination, he might have to persuade the caretaker of the collection to allow him to look through the tome. To accomplish that, he may have to perform some task or favor for the caretaker. All these FedEx quests. I look at it like this. This is me. Your game mastering style may be different. This is a perfect time for a good 4-hour side quest. Turn this, and the reason I say 4 hours is because people apparently don't play 8 hours anymore. I don't know why, but they play 4-hour games now. So this is your Wednesday night side quest. In the process of learning the research knowledge, character should also learn how it fits into the item's history. For example, if a character must learn the name of the jungle that produced the wood used to create the stuff, it's not enough for him to guess the name of the jungle, even if he manages to guess correctly. The character may need to research different kinds of woods to pinpoint the exact type used to make the staff, learn about where the different types of trees grow, then discovering important stands or forests of those trees. I love this.
Yeah,
I love this.
That is good. That is good. I would say, like, not only do you have to know what kind of wood and where the wood came from, but why that was important. Why that wood was important rather than any other damn wood on the planet.
Right.
Then you're
here
good.
You go. It says it right here. Through this process, he'll understand the significance of the wood used to make the staff. If the information wasn't significant, it would not be part of a key knowledge.
Right.
So any player that sits there and it's like, I know it's going to be wood from the Liège jungle. It's from a fucking palm tree or something. Well, that being a jungle? But it's from this tree in the Liège jungle. It's like, no. You have to understand.
Why did it have to be that tree?
It should be a challenge, but not impossible. And this is why I think it should be a 4-hour adventure. Not a 6-part quest. It's just one thread. Yeah. And more information in the Game Master Guide, which I didn't open up. Oh yeah, I did. Page 210. This is the Game Master Guide. 210. And let's zoom in. There was a specific paragraph in here. Finding key knowledge requires effort on the part of the character seeking the knowledge. They should not get something for nothing, though the name of the thread item should generally not be a trial unless it's a name of significance to the campaign. For example, a character should have to undertake a journey of some distance to find a tome that has the information he seeks, rather than merely walking to the nearest collection of books and flipping through pages for a few minutes. I'm not going to keep reading this stuff. You get the idea. So let me go back to my script here. Let's put something interesting. You know, actually, I'm going to take this off the screen. You don't need to see. And stop. Because I do kind of describe this in my script. I wanted you to see those parts, though, so you could see the mechanics behind it. To me, that was important. Okay. So first things first, you have to procure the item, right?
Sure.
So how do you introduce it? Do you introduce it as it's the glowing sword that you obviously know is magical? Or there's a weapon in the game called Purifier. No, I'm sorry, not Purifier. Is it Purifier?
It's
Crap.
Purifier, yes, it is.
Is that the name of the rusty looking sword?
It's the name of the rusty sword, yes.
Okay. It's been a while, sorry. Every time I think Purifier, I keep thinking of the Obsidians. So how do you introduce it? Do you hint at them? Nudge, nudge, nudge. Hey, there's something weird there.
No,
or,
it's a piece of crap. No
Purifier is, yeah.
No one would pick it up ever. Like, I'm going to use that junk. No, you're not.
Right. Now, there are
it's got
ways.
Tetanus written all over it. It's crazy.
A windling in the group may use astral sensing, or astral sight for them. Mm-hmm. One of your wizards may use astral sensing, or somebody may literally start using thread sight to look at this. So,
but why would they? In this instance, I wouldn't do it. But whatever.
Well, if it's Purifier, yes. But it's the game master's choice. Do you want to introduce it randomly? I never liked doing that. Oh, randomly found another thread item. I just don't like doing that because magic items. Well, magic is pervasive. I don't like the fact that a thread item is just randomly thrown out there. Mm-hmm. Do you put it in as intentionally or as a bonus item or as a story item? Do the PCs know it's a thread item? And that goes back to what we just talked about a moment ago. How did they discover it? At the same time, if the PCs do find Purifier as a rusty sword and leave it laying there, please don't tell them a week later. Oh man.
No, they get angry. Just let it go. Just let it go.
There's some chat going on. We'll get to that in a moment here. Actually, no, this is a good time to look at chat because I'm moving on to the next one. In short story segment I wrote years ago, one of the key items people needed but didn't know about a magic sword was the name of the swordsmith. Yeah, that's absolutely a proper key knowledge in this game. What Earthdawn is doing is what we did in the mid-'80s with some of our magic arms, and I didn't see it in like Dungeons and Dragons or Palladium and so forth, but yes, that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with the game when Lou Prosperi and his team first put it out. And look, for whatever my personal thoughts are on Josh Harrison, number one, he's always been respectful to me. And number two, after I got through it, there are some things I don't like about 4th edition, but it works. It absolutely works within its own construct. So I can't argue those facts. I just wish he wasn't a virtue signaling certain president that may or may not be in office now or previously hater, and has to let everybody know that, wearing little rainbow flags everywhere. I don't want to know that in your game. Okay. Okay. So next, part 2 is learn key knowledges via the item history talent or through research. You don't have to use item history. It's just the quicker way to do it. So the first thing that happens is you get the information of what you need to learn, the test knowledge. Use item history, research, or pay somebody else to use item history and research it for you.
NPCs can be fun.
Yes. And it gives the players more contacts in the game. So what does item history tell you? Well, in this case, so here are my 3 parts. I'm making up a new item now. You must learn the name of the sword. So you found the sword, you found out that it has threads, you learn the name of the sword. Next, you must learn the name of the weaponsmith who forged the sword. Hey, Mar Hockman, does that sound familiar to you? Is that Mar Hockman said there, or was that Ravenslayer? I think it was Mar Hockman. And the third one is you must learn where the particular type of iron was mined. So, all right, so let's start off by trying to find the name of the sword. Next to the specific details. Now, this is the research information we're talking about. So you can introduce it however you want. But now when the player's like, okay, we need to learn what's the name of the sword? Well, I got a really good roll in item history, and I'm a weaponsmith, and I'm this. So I know that the sword's name is, I don't care. We'll call it the Sword of Doom for now, right? Doesn't matter. What does that mean? What does Sword of Doom mean? You have to understand, you have to feel it. Well, for my example here, we're calling the name of the sword Construct Slayer. Heathen Dog, before I say anything else, you've played Earthdawn. What does that mean to you?
Construct Slayer, excuse me. I would say that it was used primarily to destroy golems or horror constructs
There you go.
where
Perfect.
not the horror itself, but the little
like Jehuthra and so forth.
horror like creatures that have been tainted so
Fog
long
gobs
that
and-
yeah. So it specializes in that. So in the name you can kind of figure out the purpose. And now you just have to figure out why a sword was made for that purpose, why this sword had to have that purpose. And I would consider that key knowledge met.
So I would, with a caveat, I would want you to narrow it down, because this sword actually has a narrower purpose. Because you said something in there that kind of broadened it. The name of the sword is Construct Slayer. Construct Slayer. It is so named because it has a knack for slaying horror constructs. In the case of what Heathen Dog said, I would want the party to go either to a library or to a weaponsmith that takes time to look at it. Something that either takes the item out of their possession or causes them to do an adventure of some sort, even if it's a mini one, to say, oh yes, no, this has nothing to do with golems and elementals and spirits, oh my. This is specifically for taking out horror constructs, because, you know, it was meant for, it only has three threads, three threads to it. Three threads to the pattern. Jesus Christ, it's been so long. So it's not the most powerful magical item out there. It was made for low levels to just have an introductory weapon that gave them a bonus against the Scourge is coming. We got to wipe these things out. You know, obviously we know the history of that, but so once they find out that it has a knack for slaying horror constructs, now, and they put effort into finding that out. Now you spend the money, you spend the legend points, and you tie the thread to it. Okay, so tie yourself to it. I say tie. Nobody says that. It's weave. Weave a thread to it. I look at everything like DNA. So you're kind of tying part of your DNA to that item, and multiple people can do it. Usually 2 or 3 people can do it.
It depends on the open thread rank. I think.
Yeah,
for
it'll
4th
tell
edition.
It'll tell you how many can do it. I don't have that stuff up, but so next thing. What's the next thing they need to learn? Well, we said that it has to learn the weaponsmith who forged the sword. Well, the weaponsmith was forged by an orc weaponsmith from the original Karafad, which, if you play in 1st edition, is a whole different meaning than if you play in 4th edition. But we just call it the land of orcs. Think of them as like Mongol riders. Yeah, think of them like Genghis Khan's riders. I mean, they're really good. They're scorchers, and anyway. Now, where would you go for this? I'm not even gonna. Heathen, where would you go? What would you do to try to figure out the weapons forge? You know, it's an orc weaponsmith. Somebody who looked at it figured out that the construction was orc, whether it's through the item history or again your weaponsmith in your group you paid for.
Yeah.
What would you do next?
Well, if it's orc made and it's old, I would try and look for an old orc civilization. You would inevitably come up with Karafad because it's the most famous one. And then you would dig deeper into, okay, what happened in Karafad where they would need something like this. You would dig in the history of the old orc nation, which in 1st edition was no more.
Right.
And you would find out, early on in the Scourge, they I wouldn't say mass produced, but produced many swords that seem to fit this description because of this issue, because of this specific issue that they needed
Magic
to defend.
levels were rising.
Yeah,
horrors were becoming more prevalent. Their constructs, of course. Yeah.
So there was a frontline defense required for this specific purpose, and that's why this sword was almost all but mass produced, and that's why it's such a low thread, because it was produced quite a bit for frontline people.
So how would you find the name? Knowing that you need to find the name, how would you find that name?
Okay, well, you would have to I would have them have to journey to the area where Karafad once was located, go to the largest town, city, village, whatever that I can find that has a weaponsmith.
In our era, orc scorcher tribe. In the modern era, it would be, there aren't so many scorchers anymore.
And find the oldest, best weaponsmith I can, and ask him, because he would be the dude to know.
Okay, so that is one of the options. So what I put on here is, depends on the group. And Heathen Dog's absolutely right. That's probably the best way to do it too. Another option is maybe there's the Thrall library can give clues about potential names.
Yeah. If you have access to it, yeah. I mean, it took me as a wizard, it took me a long time to get associate librarian type level access because you're a dick. But yeah, it took me a long time to get unfettered access to the Throlic library, which is huge. And
Library
has
of Alexandria.
Yeah, basically, yeah, that it didn't burn down or fall in the sea or whatever. So that's good.
Burned
So
down
it's
by
huge.
Muslims.
It will have a whole lot of information. It may not have the most specific high level thread information, but for this general purpose nonsense we're talking about here, yeah, it'll probably have it.
Right. So, but those are just options. And the reason I put two completely different options in there, because he mentioned the first one. It says, well, the Scorchers of Karafad may be able to discern a name or a price. Join their crazy for a minute. Is you might not have characters either willing or able, or you might have more studious characters. You might have an illusionist, a wizard, another mancer, and an elementalist in your group, and the other guy's a sword master. You know, you might not want to go mess around with Orc Scorchers. So it all depends. So another option would be you could go through a library, you know, and for a price or for a service and so on and so forth. Now, the last thing we said that we needed to figure out was you must learn where the particular type of iron was mined. So through research, you find out that the iron was mined from a vein directly below what is now known as Throl. So the PCs will need to earn or request a visit to those ancient and deep mines. Maybe a dwarven troubadour can set them on the right path, perhaps a service to the king. Depending what area you play, it could be Needon, it could be Valarus, was it Valorous?
Valerius.
Yeah. I don't know who's in charge right now because King Needon, I think, went missing, if I remember correctly.
The Prince Needon went missing, and then he was found again. It was a thing. It was a thing.
My history after first edition is always a little sketchy because I skimmed it more than researched it. But perhaps a troubadour swordmaster warrior recalls some history where the ancient sword of this design was created, which leads the group to the proper location. Another mancer or elementalist may pry the information from a spirit. Of course, the characters need to validate the information. My suggestion is through a one-session quest, as I mentioned before. Once the characters learn what they need and or where they need to go, they still must examine the location or reference point, through the tomes, that's what I mean by a reference point, for both veracity and to really internalize the meaning of what they discovered. Knowing the name of an item or location is one thing, but you have to ask, what does this mean? Yes, both Heathen Dog and I are kind of beating this one is. So let me give you the example of this sword. If the key knowledge is learn the name of the weaponsmith who forged a sword, the characters may need to travel to 4 or 5 major bar-safe cities to seek out tomes, songs, or other oral traditions that talk about the weaponsmith. Sure, you know it's Bob the weaponsmith, but who is Bob? In Bartertown, you find out that his wares were sought only by the wealthiest of buyers. From Travar, you find that he was friends with all the councilmen, except for the one who was mysteriously found murdered after not paying outstanding debts to Bob. From Iopos, you find out that Bob is rumored to have infused forged weapons with dragon scales that required his forge to be powered by elemental fire. Where could he possibly have received these dragon scales? Back in the Library of Thrall, you find that he's able to negotiate the requisition of prized dwarven ore. Personally, unless there is canon already written, for example, Prince Needon or Queen Alakia, or if it is of historical NPC, or if it's a historical NPC of note for your campaign, let the players in the group use those small pieces of history, and I'm going to call on you in a moment here, Heathen Dog, to build the overall narrative of Bob the Weaponsmith. See, he forged in elemental fire, received dragon scales from Iopos, only rich and powerful clientele better pay up, and able to procure ore that is almost of religious sanctity to the dwarves. If you put all this together, what could it mean? Who was Bob the Weaponsmith, Heathen Dog?
Let's see. Extremely rich and powerful, not only weaponsmith, but also merchant businessman. Okay. Obviously, because he went about his life not only building things but selling things, and seemed to be a little draconian in his debt collection. So
maybe not.
Maybe
you find that more, and it was actually some nethermancer who said, "I dare you to come get it." I mean, you don't know, but yeah. I like, as a player, this is what I would want Heathen Dog to do. Nothing that he's saying is wrong. You could go a completely different direction, but this is what I like to hear. I want the players to put this together. So, and I'm gonna
hang on. There's more. Iopos is like a den of thieves type thing. So
no, that's Karatas.
That's Karatas. Okay, Iopos is a Theron province, right? It's a Theron province.
Nope.
Damn it.
You know the secret, and I don't want you to say it. Daner Astus. This is where the Daner Astus are.
Oh, okay.
So you know the
right.
secret, which is why I said what I said.
Okay, the real power behind it. Okay, yeah. All right, now I know where he got the scales. Okay.
Cheater.
All right. I'm not cheating. I'm not cheating. I own the book. So yeah, that's how he got it. That's probably how he got so powerful pretty quickly. Because if you got a backer like that, you can do whatever you want, basically.
Well, if he's and the last thing was he was able to negotiate to how did I word this here?
All but holy ore,
yeah,
reverent ore.
So everything that you said, as a game master, I look at you and say, you understand Bob. It may have been in my head a little differently. Maybe Bob was just a weaponsmith that that lived in old Carafad and everybody brought stuff to him and he just made it. Who knows? But your story, first of all, your story is better than that. And secondly, it allows the players to kind of invent who Bob is and make that weapon even more personal to him. Right. I've got Bob's weapon. Bob was the dude, man. He was in Iopus, and he haggled with Daner Astus to get a who? It was a mountain shadow? Whose scale is that? Who knows? Who cares? And fire elementals had to put this stuff together. He must have known either he was
high level elementalist too.
Well, got to be clear. If his first edition, he could have done it at his own.
That's true.
They took out the elementalism from the weaponsmith in fourth edition. But yeah, I mean, you put all that together, it just builds this narrative of who Bob is. Yes, now the player understands who Bob is. Now you can tie your thread to it. Or weave your thread to it. I keep saying tie; it's a habit. So.
Yeah, I understand. But to be fair, if Bob the weaponsmith knew all these people, did all these things, and this sword had to be helped forged with dragon scales and elementals and fucking Mountain Doom, whatever, it's probably not just a 3-tier deal. It's probably a 12-threaded item at this point.
I don't know if they go up to 12, but yeah, I mean, but your point is absolutely well taken.
Yeah.
And it's funny you said to be fair, because that's actually what my next words are.
Right. Now, usually 3-threaded items are like, he doesn't need a fire elemental. He just needs like a kernel of true fire. Boom.
Right.
Yeah. Stuff like that. This is low-level grunt stuff.
Might want to give it back to that troubadour to look deep at how many more threads are there actually on this thing.
Did you mess up that roll real bad? Fire elementals, dragon scales, try again, dipshit.
Also, if the dragon scale came from wants it back. In this example, again, Heathen Dog knows the background of it, wouldn't need it back. But although that would be kind of funny. Oh my God, 400 years later or something. Like, hey, buddy, Mountain Shadow comes flying or Icewind comes flying down. Or who's the really asshole one that's in the Liège jungle? Was it I forget the name. Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Like just
real
eats people
D-bag.
for the sake of it. Like,
yeah,
hey,
just
you
for
want to
funsies.
talk to me? Sacrifice 2 of your people and we'll have a conversation,
Yeah.
So they don't do Draco Liches in this game, but I get what you're saying. You have
there
dragons
are
and
corrupt dragons.
Yeah, that's where Vastengus came from. But yeah, you have to go talk to Vastengus.
No, you wouldn't want to do that ever. But maybe the dragon scale is from a corrupt dragon. And
there you go.
When you tie it's actually a trap. When you tie the final thread to it, the top tier thread, you're actually tying a horror mark to yourself. That would be awful.
Oh, that'd be horrible.
I would hate you. Oh God, I would hate you so bad.
Yeah, don't do it. We're not suggesting you do that in your game.
No, that's bad. Don't do that.
So to finish up here, to be fair, you don't want to make it so annoying or lengthy and difficult where the players don't have fun. No. Or feel it isn't worth the effort.
But if it is lengthy and difficult, it is a very powerful item.
Sure. Yeah, but you don't want to just hand the information over to them either. A die roll should point them in the right direction, but they should still have to perform some legwork for the actual information.
Right.
Make it part of an ongoing story or make it the story over a couple of adventures so that when they're ready to weave the thread to the pattern item, they value it. It's also a great way to have them end up in a location you as a game master desire.
Yes. It's a getting information for a thread item is a really good way to get them to a certain place at a certain time to be able to start the next, say, module adventure. They need to start in this city. Well, make sure that the thread item end result ends them in this city. Easy.
You're now going to start wandering through par length for the next one. No. So Mahakman says maybe just some way to remove the horror mark.
Well, usually, yeah. Well, hang on. Usually, just like with blades, If it's a corrupt item, you know, the only way out is through. You know, you have to go to the highest level of the item, go to the highest level of corruption. It's darkest before the dawn type thing. The whole, all you know, that whole, all those tropes. And then you defeat it and cleanse not only yourself, but the item in the process, and you win the day. And now you have the super powerful magical items with your entire group. That's awesome. But you earned it. You earned the superpower.
Unless you're a particular what are they called? Minor discipline. There is, once you are marked, all the horror has to do is say, after a year and a day is, I'm still keeping you.
Yeah. Actually, spend 1 horror karma and it's automatic. It's automatically renewed.
So the only way to defeat it is to defeat it, or it gets bored with you. But I don't know of a horror that would ever just get bored.
I don't know a horror that would get bored. I mean, you could maybe, if it's a intelligent and devious horror, which there are a lot of, you could bargain with it, maybe.
So one of the
probably a lie, but you can bargain with it or bribe it or something.
Well, you have to bribe it with something more better.
Better than you. More better. English good. That's right.
Yes,
more better than you. But
horrors aren't just demons.
No, they're not. They are the player character version of Mephisto, you know? Like you know, the devil. Each one is the devil. You know, and it acts like that. Souls are its trade, and marking name givers, which are, you know, player characters, is its game. That's what it does.
And Marhakman, what you said about the dragon could be true. Like I said, I intentionally worded this the way I did because I knew Heathen Dog would get it. So there's a secret within Iopos. That's why I did that. So, but you're right. If it was a dragon scale from, say, Mountain Shadow or something like that, you know, well, that would actually, what you described is exactly what a horror mark is. That wouldn't be from the dragon unless it was.
And the horror mark is very much like tying a thread to an item. Think of the horror as you and you as the item. That's what a horror mark is. And the minor subclass you were talking about was the horror stalker. The horror stalker has the ability to very much like a foreign object in the human body. The body will try to encapsulate it, separate it from the body as a whole, and eject it. What the horror stalker does is he's able to, his pattern, his astral body is able to encapsulate the mark, separate it from the body as a whole, and then use that to track it back to the horror to murder it dead.
My favorite aspect of the horror stalker is and I'm not trying to get all into the Earthdawn game here, but one of the things about the disciplines and the talents that they have, which talents are just skills, magical skills, is you have to use the ability to improve the ability.
That means even if you want to get better at it, you got to do it. So
you have to take a horror mark.
You have to take a horror mark. And in first circle with first level, they not only have the bear mark, which is this ability, but they also have astral flare, which is the ability you walk into a horror corrupted area and you light up you light up astral space like goddamn 4th of July to attract a horror to free mark you. Like, oh, this guy's being stupid. Free horror mark. And then you have to try to encapsulate it. That's a roll. You may not.
At
you
mid
can just
to
mark
high
your brain.
circles, it's actually impressive. At low circles, I think they go through horror. The horror stalker school must be just thousands of people to get like 2 or 3.
The percentage survive rate is very low the first couple of years of a horror stalker's career. Yeah, because it's the first couple of levels you're in trouble.
Lastly, so after you've done all this adventuring, you spend the appropriate number of legend points. It's basically in Earthdawn, you spend your experience points to raise your skills and so on and so forth. And you finally weave the thread. So I hope what I explained here for the person, and I absolutely and sincerely am looking you in the camera eye here, apologize that I didn't write down your name. I told myself to do it and I didn't do it. But that asked this question with regard to the how to implement this. I hope I answered your question. You probably already knew the mechanics portion of it, but how that integrated with the role-playing portion of it. How sometimes they might not even get the item. If it's Purifier, I always use that example because it looks like a rusty, gnarly piece of shit. That's the description of it. But it could be anything. You know, How did they find out that it was magical in the first place? I mean, if you want to, there's nothing that says you can't make it glowy and shiny or whatever else. You know, but how did they find that out? And then how do they go about questing without making it ridiculous, but still making it meaningful to learn whatever the key knowledges were? So I hope I expressed that. Do you think we expressed that pretty well?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay. I don't plan on doing any more Earthdawn videos. I'm sorry. I've said it enough. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of it. If anybody cares, just watch the Elementalist video. At the second half of that one, I talk about my entire thoughts of 4th edition. I will tell you that 4th edition Earthdawn is, within its own construct, a good game. I will never purchase product for 4th edition anymore until the creators, and it's not just the one-line developer of the game, who, to be fair, has been very respectful. But it's the entire FASA Games Corporation that has gone virtue signaling. I will not accept that. I will play. I'm happy. You see all the books behind me. I don't have to play Earthdawn. It saddens me because it is my favorite game. But I can play Dungeon Crawl Classics, Astonishing Swordsman, Sorcerer, Hyperborea, Forbidden Lands, which is my kind of new favorite game. It's Earthdawn-y in a way. I've got all types of games I can play. I don't have to play Earthdawn. So I don't need to buy your damn product.